Okay, as is usually the case, this presentation, the link to this presentation is in the chat, and you can certainly revisit it afterwards with all the steps involved and everything that I do today, should you need to review them. So I'm going to get started with creating a presentation. So I'm going to start with my drive, and as we usually do, we go to New to create a new slideshow, and I'm going to choose Google Slides. I have a choice of template or blank presentation. There are some templates to choose from. I'm not going to do it, but I am going to show you what's available. If I click here under General, you can see that there are various different ones. I never find them to be very useful. For some reason, they sort of never provide what I'm looking for, but for some of you, it may be perfect. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using that, I'm going to create one from a blank presentation, and if you can do it from a blank presentation, you've got complete control. So when you first load this, it might not look like this. This window might not be open. This is probably more like what you'll see. And it's just one slide, one title slide, and it's ready to go, very much like PowerPoint. So when I click on here, I can add slides. So my ability to add slides is up here where this plus sign is. If I just hit the plus sign, it will, after the first slide, it actually creates the most logical next slide you would use, which is usually a title, a layout, which is a title, and a place to put content. And if you continue to hit the plus sign, it's going to replicate your previous slide layout. If you want to change your slide layout, you can click, and you'll see that when I click on the down arrow next to the plus sign, you'll see these various different types of layouts. The final one being blank, which is great if you want to just put in a video or some pictures with no text. So that's a good way to go. Now, I'm going to just stick with what I had here and just use that. So that's how that works. Now, the next step I'm going to do, you can do it anytime. I can do this now or later. I'm actually going to do it and undo it just to let you see what it looks like. And the next step I'm going to do is going to be creating a theme or choosing a theme. Okay. Hey, can we mute our mics? I'm hearing lots of little noises and things here. If I choose a theme, you'll see that I can get these various different color themes, and it will apply it to my entire presentation. So if I click, for instance, this one, paperback, you'll see that each slide now has been encoded with a theme based on the original design of that particular theme. So you can choose those, and you can change those at any time. If you have a theme for a presentation that already exists and you get tired of it, you can always just go back and change it. So I'm going to undo my theme. I may come back to doing a theme later. I have a different way I like to work for doing design, but that's just something to keep in mind. So the next thing I want to do is add a title to my presentation. So I'll put my slideshow, and for a subtitle, I'm just going to put my name, and it's that simple to add a title. Now, if I want to name my file, one thing I haven't done is name my file. And remember that as our documents get saved in Google Drive, whatever name you give it up here is the name that the file will be called, that I will be looking for in my Google Drive. So because I already had some text on my first slide, just like I showed you guys in Docs, when I click up here to give my file a name, whatever I have as my title will show. Now, if I don't like that, I could certainly select over it and type over that if I want. So now I'm going to proceed to put more content in. So I'm going to add some things here. Google Drive feature. Let's say Google Drive features. Okay, so if I want to put some things in like, well, let me spell Google properly. By the way, to do that, I'm just right-clicking on the misspelled word and selecting the proper one. So I'll put text, photos, diagrams, audio. Oh, actually, I won't do audio. It's weak in audio. Video. And we can do links. So we'll do all of those things. Now, the way that came in, I might not like the way that looks in terms of formatting. Unlike PowerPoint, it doesn't default to giving you bullets when you do this, but you can certainly assign your own bullets. So I'm just selecting the text I've put in here. And I'm going to go over here because my menu is shrunken. And it's mainly because I have my theme window open. So I'm going to close that by hitting the X. And you'll see that if I click on my More button up here, I can do my bullets or numbering. I'm just going to do plain old bullets. And if I want to make that text bigger or smaller, I can select it. And I can do, 24. But I think I'm going to keep it at 18 as it is. So I'm going to leave that just like that. And I'm going to go and add another slide. And let's take a look at what the various different layouts are now that we know where they are. So I'm actually going to delete this slide. If you want to delete a slide, they appear on the left as you are creating them. And if I want to delete a slide, I'll simply select the slide I don't want and just hit my delete key. Now what I'm going to do is let's look at what my other choices are. This is my basic title layout with subtitle. Second is just a slide with a title. Third is the slide I've been using, which is the text on top, the title on top, and the ability to put bullets or content inside. This next slide, probably the one I'm going to use, is the same thing, but it gives me 2 columns of content, should I want that. My next one is just a title across the top, and I think you're starting to see what some of these other ones are as I go through. So I'm not going to get any deeper into those, but I am going to select this slide that has the 2 columns. So I'll click that, and it's pretty much the same thing. Okay. I'm going to put this here, and I'll put some text here. At this point, I'm not going to worry about what the text is. This is more for the functionality. So I'm just going to put this in, and there it is. So I can continue to add slides. Now watch what happens when I just add a slide. And I mentioned this a few seconds ago, but if I just add a slide by clicking the plus sign, look what I've got. I've got the exact same layout as the previous slide. Now, if I go back to this slide that only has the 1 text box, and I click this, it too gives me just that layout. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's how it works. Now I'm going to undo those 2 ads and keep this simple. And I'm going to go back to this slide. Now what I did with this slide is that after I put my text in and I realized that I had a very short amount of text to put in, maybe I want to put an image over here. Okay, so let's look at the numerous ways we can put in images, and it works very much like Google Docs. But Slides does a couple other things that are kind of interesting that I kind of recently discovered, and I want to show you some of those nuances. Now, if I go to insert an image, I have my various different ways to insert an image. So if I click here and do insert image, I can upload one from my computer. I can search the web. We'll do that next. I can get one from my drive. We're going to do that quite a bit. I can get one from my Google Photos. Now, if you don't know what Google Photos is, it's time for you to discover it. Google Photos is an application that you can put on your phone, and what it will do is access your photo library on your phone. And when you open Google Photos, as long as your phone is on a network like, on your Wi-Fi at home or something like that, it will automatically take all the photos out of your photo library on your phone and upload them to Google Drive. Why is that good? Well, for one thing, you can get to your photos from anywhere. For another thing, it makes it very easy for you to integrate your photos into any Google Drive application. And thirdly, it allows you to delete the photos on your phone. I think we've all been to the point where we're maxing out our phones because of too many photos. I keep maybe 3 of the most recent photos I've taken on my phone tops because I allow everything else to go into Google Photos. So once things are up there, I can access them to put into applications like this right from a menu like this. By URL, let's not worry about. And camera allows me to access the camera of my computer. This is great for students when you want students to be able to take a screenshot of themselves and maybe put it into a presentation or something like that. So that's a good way to go. But let's go to search the web. And maybe I want to get a Google Slides photo. And here's the icon for Google Slides. So let's see if I can insert that. I'll just double click it and there it goes. And I can put it in, and if I want to resize it, I can. Just like in like Microsoft applications, when I go to resize it, if I resize it from the corners, it will maintain the proportions of the image. If I do it from the sides, it will elongate it or widen it, which isn't a desirable effect. Okay, so I'm going to undo that so I can get back to my regular one. Now watch this. Another thing that this does, which I love, is that when you start to move objects around like this, it starts to check the proximity of the other objects and align them for you or show you how they are being aligned. Let me show you. I'm going to drag this a little bit. Now watch when I drag it up to the top of where this title is. Okay, you see that red line up here? That's aligning it with what it perceives to be the top of where that actual title box is, okay? Now, which is nice because when you start to study alignment and proximity in graphics, that's one of the things that that is emphasized. Now, if I go down here, it's going to align it with some of the other text areas. Now, if I go to drag it to the middle, watch this. It'll show me where dead center is. If for some reason I wanted this image. And if I wanted this image perfectly dead center, vertically and horizontally, if I move it up, you'll see I get that cross in the middle of the screen, and it gives me the perfect dead center alignment. Now that doesn't really work with this particular slide, but I wanted to show you how you can do that. So for this one, I'm just going to make it large, and I might come back to that and do something a little bit different with it later when I show you some other features. So that's one way to insert an image. Now what I'm going to do is insert a blank slide, and I want to show you some other image nuances. So I'm going to go here and put in a blank slide, and for this I'm going to insert an image, and this time I'm going to use my drive. So when I go to insert an image from Google Drive, it searches my drive for multiple images. Now, if I go to put in an image and I want to put in more than one image from my drive, the way this works is I can keep selecting them as I'm scrolling through my images. So maybe I wanted to put 2 images on this particular slide. So maybe I want this one, this 45 record, and if I scroll down, maybe I want this tube amplifier. And if you notice, as I'm clicking them, look at the bottom, you'll see that it's saying 2 items here. That means that I can keep clicking until it'll keep incrementing the items. And when I hit insert, it's going to put all of them in at the same time. Now I'm going to unselect this car. Hold on, let me start over again. So I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to do this. Now watch what it does when I have 2 images. By the way, this only works if the images fit on the slide together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit insert, and look what it did. It kind of groups them together in a way that it almost kind of gives you a little bit of a layout. Oh, you can move them around when you're done, but it kind of just kind of puts it in for you. Now I'm going to add a third image to this slide. So I'm going to go to Insert Image from Drive, and this time I'm going to add this tape machine, and I'm only going to do the one item and insert it. Now see, that's real big, so I might have to resize that to make it work, but I can kind of get these all together all on one slide, and there it is. So we'll come back to that when I'm looking at some other formatting techniques, but that's the general idea. Okay. Next thing I want to do is add a video. So what I'm going to do is create a blank slide, and I'm going to go to Insert and Video. Faisal, could you tell people to kind of be quiet out there? It's really distracting. And if I click here, I can now search for YouTube. So let me look for a video on Google Slides. I can do my search right from here. And here are my various different ones. Look at this guy. I like this guy. I'm going to use his. Anytime you see anything from this guy, use him. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you who he is. This guy, Dodo Tech, he does really good stuff. So I can put my video in, and it's that easy to put in a video. Now, the beauty of putting in a video is that when you do, it takes away all of the distractions from YouTube. It isolates your video into the slide itself. I've known teachers that have done presentations that are no more than one slide with a video in it that they can embed into a Google site or something like that, simply because it hides all of the distractions from YouTube. But incidentally, if you're using Google Sites, you don't even need to make the slide because you can embed it right in Google Sites the same way. So that's putting in a video. Now, the next thing I want to do here is start to work with transitions. Okay, so I'm going to go back to where I have some content on the page. Now, this has lots of things here. Actually, no, transitions. Let me do transition here. Now, what I'm going to do is when I have slides selected, I have to have at least one slide selected. At the top of my menu, you'll see the transition. And now, if I want to do transitions, I have these various different ones. I don't have a lot, but I do have enough to do damage. And if I do like cube, I can do that. And I find the easiest thing to do is when I pick a transition, I like to do it apply to all slides. So I'll do that. Now, this is set to fast. What I can do is I can change my speed. So I'll change it to like medium. And I'm going to, sorry, I'm just getting distracted by these noises outside my office. I'm going to hit play, and it'll give me a preview of my transitions. Okay, so if I continue, so that's what the cube transition looks like. Now that was a little slower. So what I'm going to do is speed it up, and I'm going to hit play again. And you'll see that's almost too fast. So you can kind of get a balance between, and that's how you add in transitions. Okay, so excuse me 1 second. It's real distracting out here. I'm sorry. It's really hard for me to maintain a train of thought. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Now, so that's a transition. Now, the next step to transition is animation. And animation is a little bit different. Transition is for going from slide to slide. Animation is for animating the objects into your slide. So when I click onto a slide and I select an object, you'll see that it says add animation. So now I'm going to work with these bullets. Now these work in an interesting way. I'm going to click add animation. And what I want them to do is slide in from the left. So it's fly in from left. I'm going to click that. And then we're going to test it to see what it looks like. So I'm going to hit play. And it shows my transition. Now I have to hit my spacebar or trigger something to make the next step come in because it was programmed that way. So if I click it, you'll see the whole thing comes in at once. Okay, that could be fine if that's what you want. Now let me go back and stop this and go back and add a different parameter to it. Now what I'm going to do is make this a little smaller because I noticed that when I looked at the animation, I think I would have liked it a little more indented too. So I'm just going to do that. Now what I'm going to do is select this and I'm going to click. Now when you have an animation assigned to an object, you just go back. If you want to adjust it, just go back and click on that animation, and I'm going to keep flying from left. On click is fine, but what I want to do is by paragraph. Okay, now what paragraph means is what they're really defining a paragraph as any time the return key or the enter key was hit between lines. So it's basically saying between blocks of text. In this case, it would be between the bullets. So now I should get, my animation should come in with one of these bullets coming in at a time. So let's see if that works. So I'll click, and now you can see that this could follow my dialogue a little more closely. Okay, so that's how that works. Now, if I wanted to continue this and have my image come in and do some crazy things, just enough to annoy the audience, I could have a fly in from top. And you'll also see you have on click, after previous, with previous. Let's do after previous. Now, what that means is that after the previous animation is completed, that will execute whether I click or not. So let's try that one out. Let's see what that looks like. So I'll hit play for that. It comes in. Now nothing's on my slide. I have to click, and I get my text. I get this. Now remember, previous in this case is going to be the last bullet. And you see that that just came in automatically. I did not click twice for that to happen. So that's how you can control your animations. And if you don't like your animation, you can go back and you can simply select the animation you don't like and click the little X next to it, and it will be gone. And I can do the same thing with the image. So now this slide has no animation on it. So that's how you can animate your presentations. Now, the next thing we want to work on is the background color. So let me just go here. I'll go to the first slide, and if I go to background, I can choose a color. And I'm going to go here and maybe do this blue, or I guess that's more of a green. Let me go here and get this blue, and I'm going to hit now, if I hit reset to theme, that'll take me back. It will actually remove it. So I just want to go back and put this in. I just want to let you know what that did. And I'm going to hit, now watch this. If I do add to theme, even though there's no theme, remember I took away my theme, it adds it to, it changes the background on all of my slides. Now at this point, I'd probably have to change my text color. Okay. Now there is a way to do this globally throughout the slideshow. However, that is being reserved for Google Slides Intermediate Advanced. So we will discuss that later, but I just wanted to let you know that if nothing else, it's bait to come back to the next workshop, that there is a way to fix these things globally so that you can, in essence, create your own theme by your own specifications. So I'm just going to set this text to white or whatever. So now, I've got this whole thing. This one, we'll just delete this slide. Okay. So So that's how that works. Okay. So, you can change your background color. Now, if I wanted it to only be changed on one slide, maybe on the video slide, I want that one to be black. I'll go to background for that particular slide, choose black. And this time I will not do add to theme because I only want it to show on the one slide, and I'll hit done. And now that gives me a nice way to display my video. So you have a lot of control over your slides and how they work. Some other things that we can insert. We're going to have some fun inserting crazy things. I'm going to go to insert. And well, first let me put in a new slide. So I'll do a blank one because I'm going to put a few different things in here. And one of the things you can insert is word art. So if I go to insert, and you'll see word art is an option. Now, this does not have all of the options that Microsoft has for word art, but it does give you a few, like it gives you one option. Anyway, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to put in word art so you know it's word art, and that will be the text I want to use. And when I hit enter, it puts it in. And that's what it looks like. Now I can do some things to it. I can select it. I can change the color and go to format options, size and position. Look at this drop shadow. So if I want to put in a drop shadow, I can increase it. I can increase the angle. And the way I got that is I clicked up here and I got format options with the word art selected, by the way. Reflection, look at this. I'll add a reflection. See the distance, see how I can change the distance. I can change the transparent, and I can change the size of the reflection. So if I want like the whole thing to be reflected, I like a little bit of a subtle fade out on my reflection. Okay, so you can add some word art in like that, just to dress up your presentation just a bit. Okay, the next thing I want to insert is a shape. So if I go to insert, you'll see shape, and this has lots of different shapes that are available. They're just to call attention to things. You have a plethora of arrows to choose from if you like. I mean, you can kind of have fun with them. I could do something like this arrow, and put it in. And if I want to rotate it, I can have something, pointing up to that. Now I've got this. This has the drop shot. This has the reflection in it. Look, I can shut the reflection off, and I can do some things like that. Okay, so and let's see here. So I can change my color, whatever. So that's my arrow. I can put in other shapes that are available if they interest you. Call outs, like comic book type things you can put in. So if you have a character and you want it to be speaking something, you can put it in, and then you can get inside and type in some text. If you like, of course, that would look a lot better if it was pointing away from a person that was speaking or something like that. So that's how that one works. And there are also various different mathematical things. If you wanted to put up a math problem or something like that, or maybe design one graphically, you can do so. And then there are just basic shapes. So if I wanted something like a rounded edge rectangle, I could do something like that. And then, of course, a shape could also serve as a background for text, because you can type text into a shape. And I did that by just clicking into it. It can be resized and put into various different ways. So I'm going to add a new blank slide and show you some more stuff. And this comes with diagrams, and so some of these are kind of interesting. So look at these various different types of diagrams. Now, these are already put together for you. They're pre-designed. Basically, this is what this is creating is something that you might have to work kind of hard to create. But look at this; it has hierarchy. So if you need to show relationship, a hierarchy, or a family tree of some kind, look, if I click on the arrow, it gives me these various choices. So look at this. I have like this family tree option. Okay, so if I put something like this in, now the text color is a little funny with this slide. So this would be a good time to change my slide background, wouldn't it? So let me go here and get like something like this. Still doesn't look that good. But yeah, as you can see, I can go in and change various different things. So it puts these charts in and it does a nice job. Other types of charts that are available. Actually, let me get rid of this one, or actually just let me make a new slide. They have these various different grid type things. Relationship ones have some nice ones. There, look at this, a Venn diagram or some concept mapping type things. Okay, so sometimes there may be a chance where you want to add things like this, a timeline. Okay, if you need a timeline of some sort. But look at this. When you're in here and you're going to put in the chart, you can actually change the color of the chart to match your presentation or to add a contrasting color to what you're using in your presentation. So look at this. If I want to put this timeline thing in here, I can do this, and then I can go in here and type in the years and the types of content that I want to put in. So that's pretty nice. Now, we looked at Google Sheets in the last presentation, and some of you were present for that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert a chart. Now, when I go to say insert chart, what it's referring to is, well, I can do these various ones, but the easiest way to do this is if you've already have chart in your Google Sheets. Now, we looked at making charts in some sheets the other day. So if I click in here and I go from Sheets, what it's going to do is it's going to show me all of my various different Google Sheets that I have here. And I think this one has a chart in it. It doesn't show you the charts. It just shows you the sheet. And let's see, I think this one should have some charts in it. Let's see if it does. Oh yeah, this has all kind of charts. So look at this. These are the charts that were made in the sheet that I'm looking at, that I selected. So if I go here and I click on the chart and I put in import, it gives me a chart. Now, I made a mistake, but I'm kind of glad I made it because this may be something that you need. I put this on a slide and I didn't put it where I wanted it to go. So what do I want to do? Well, first of all, I need to make the new slide. And then I'm going to go back here and I can cut and paste this to my new slide. So I just hit Control X and Control V for cut and paste. If you're using a Mac, it would be Command X and Command V, or any cut and paste commands you like. But now look at this. When you put in a chart, this is an important thing to pay attention to. You see this little thing at the top here, this little drop-down arrow, and it gives me, when I click on it, I have a choice of unlink or open source, okay? Right now it's linked, and you know it's linked because it has that little chain link there. So what's it linked to? Well, it's linked to the spreadsheet that I loaded this chart from. So what does that mean? Well, it means that life is good. What it means is that if the data in that spreadsheet changes and I want to keep current data in my presentation, I don't have to go back and reload my chart into here. The data from the chart will change, or this chart will change based on the data of my sheet. It will be dynamic. It will be in real time. Okay. Now, if for some reason I don't want that, I want to keep it permanent the way it is, I would just go in here and click unlink. And then this will stay as is, more like it's a picture of the chart from the original. But remember this, if you have a spreadsheet that has changing data in it and you want to and you want to keep it current in a presentation, just keep it linked and it will stay current. And that's a nice gift that Google has given us. Okay. So the next thing I want to work with is something called Explore. And we looked at Explore in Google Docs and we looked at Explore in Sheets, but Explore does something a little different for us in slides. So I'm going to make one more slide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some text. Actually, that's not the slide layout I want. I'm going to undo that. Here's my undo button. I'm going to do one of these slides, one with the text, the standard text and title slide. Okay, so welcome to Google. Okay, and then I'll have some text in here, all kind of stuff, whatever. And that's real nice. And let me do a little text formatting so that there's my font color. And I'll fix all of this just so we can see it a little bit better. But now that's what I wanted to do is I'm just starting this slide. And what I want to do is show you what some of the things we can do with Explore. Okay. Now what Explore does is like it does in any in Drive or in Docs is if I click Explore, don't pay attention to this slide yet, to this panel yet. What I want to do is search for a topic. Let's do Google Slides. Okay. And if I this is a research tool. So if I were doing research on Google Slides and I wanted to insert some instructions or various different things like that, I could do so from here and I could get results. I could click here and it will open up a new tab and, give me some things to read about or whatever, some content maybe for my slideshow. The other thing I could do is I could find images for Google Slides. You saw me do that earlier, but now watch what happens. I'm going to insert an image here. And let's find another image to put in. Let's get an image of the student on a computer. So I'm going to try to put that in. Now watch what happens. I'm going to click a plus sign. And it kind of just pops it on top of my slide. You see that? That's fine. I can resize it and make it work with the text. But I like to do this with Explore. When I do something like this, once this slide is in, Google Explore, this panel on the right, comes with multiple pages to the panel. Okay, as you can see, there's web and there's images. But if I back all the way off, the very first panel, see, I can't back up anymore. See, that left arrow's gone. The very first panel is a layout panel. And this does sort of an intuitive thing where it looks at the content on your slide and the image or any other objects on your slide. And it suggests really cool, dynamic looking layouts for that particular slide. So look, if I click through these, you'll see how quickly it makes me look like I'm actually very good at creating a really, kind of a fancy presentation. But all I'm doing is using Google Explorer to do that. Now, I'm going to show that to you in a couple more times so you can start to see how it actually works. Let's go to the slide where I have the three objects. See this one right here? So I've got those three things. Look what the Explorer did. It found a couple. Now, sometimes you don't always like what it does. Okay, you're not always going to be happy. But look at this. This is kind of cool. It gives me three circular images. Just a way to dress up your presentation and make it look a little bit better, a little more easily. I don't even know what it would do to this slide. Look, it doesn't even know what to do to that one, the one where I had all those various different objects. Let's see what it does to this slide. So if I click here, see, even when the object is inserted ahead of time, it'll do that. But look at this. I can just click this, and I think that looks so much better than what I had with that blue background or whatever. So what I tend to do is I like to actually build my my slides from the Explorer and allow it to create the layouts for me, because it creates just really nice looking presentation. So if I put an image and some text on almost every slide, I can go through and just use this first level of Explore. Now, let me review. The way I got to Explore is it will always be in the bottom right corner. So let me close this panel. Always down here, the Explore button. Okay, so let's review. Let me add another Explore item. So I'm going to go here, and let me do a thing on. I'm going to do something. Let's say I'm doing something about a moose. Okay, so first of all, I can do research on a moose by clicking on any of these links. I can find an image. Well, first let me add a slide here, a blank slide. And that's a good slide for what I want to do. And I'll put my moose in. Okay, now watch this. I'll go here, and it puts it in. Whoops, I went in twice. Okay, so let me delete this first one over here. Went in twice, and over here I want to see what the let's see what the layouts do for us. So there's no easy way to get here other than hitting this back button. Not that I know, but look at these layouts it created. Okay, gives me a nice little thing with some text and a diagonal. So when I put my text in, and it just makes it look, it gives you an interesting presentation. Look at that, a little banner with some text. Sometimes it gives you an image where you can put the text right over it with sort of a shadow box that allows you to put text in. So when you create a whole presentation with almost every slide this way, you get a really good looking presentation. And it looks like you spent tons of time trying to make something really amazing, and you didn't really make anything that special. All you did was go to Explore and click this, but it really gives you a quick dynamic presentation very quickly. Now, the last thing I want to discuss with you is presenting this thing, okay? Now, if I click up here on the right, this will allow me to present it. So now this is what I would do when I take this slideshow, I load it in on a podium or something that I want to present in front of a classroom or at some kind of a conference or something like that. And what I'll do is just click up here on the present button. And what it will do is whatever slide you're on, it'll start on. So let me go to the very first one because I want to start with the first one. And I'm going to click on present. And it brings my slideshow into full screen. I can click these. No, look at that. There's my cube transition. And I look like I was really good. And I think you guys watched me. I really am not that good. I just, Google Slides did the work for me. I didn't really do anything very special. But it gave me, utilizing some of these tools, if the slideshow, if the content actually made sense, you would see that I have a pretty cool thing here. Now, another thing this will do is I can navigate to any slide in my show. So if I want to go back to the beginning, I can. And if I just hit the play button, this will run and it will just continue to run. Why is this good? What if you wanted to put up a running presentation for a parent night or a back to school night or something that's up on the board of highlights of the school year or whatever, that kind of thing, you can do it that way. So there are other things available also, which we'll go over in a later workshop, but just in general, that's how you present. Now, another way to present a Google Slideshow is to not actually present it with you actually presenting it, but to allow it to be presented to people and they can visit it online to look at it, kind of like a website. And that is basically occurs when you use the simple Google sharing concepts, which exist in all of the Google documents. And this is no different. But if I go up here to the right, you'll see that by default, it is a private document. So if I click here, I could either put in the email addresses of the people I want to share with. Notice that when I do that, I have this edit thing here. Now I can, whoever's name I put in here, I can give them privileges to edit. What does that mean? It means I can collaborate on this presentation with somebody. Somebody else can add slides to it. I could start groups where 5 students at a time in a classroom, each in a separate group, all work together on one presentation and can work together collaboratively. The other options that all people can do is comment on it. The comments work very much like the comments in Google Docs, or can view just means that's actually the one that you would use if you just want to present it. But I'm going to skip this one instead of people. What I want to do is I want to make this public to the world. I don't think anybody in the world wants to see this presentation, but I'm going to make it public anyway. So when I do that, because I'm at the Stockton University school login for my Google Drive, you'll see that it defaults to anyone at Stockton. So if you're using a school account, the default for you might be anyone at your school district can view this. Now, if I want to take that further, if I want to make this completely public, okay, I can click here and you can see that I have only these choices. It's all Stockton people. But if I click more and I go up here to public on the web or anyone with a link, there's not a drastic difference between these two. The only difference is public on the web means that people can search. It'll come up in a Google search. I don't know what people would search for to find this particular presentation, but it could happen. Or just anyone with the link, that means that anybody can get to it, but you have to give them the link. So I'll show you how that can be done. So I'll hit save. And there it is. Now, when you do that, your link appears here. See this? This is the link to my presentation. So if I click copy link, it has now put that on my clipboard. That means I could go into my email and email this to anybody and say, check out this presentation, or this was the presentation from last night's meeting, or this was the presentation from yesterday's class, however you want it to go. What I'm going to do is open up a new tab in my browser and paste this link in and let you see what it looks like to people who are visiting your presentation. So I'm pasting that link in. And there it is. And now if I hit present, now chances are, because I'm logged in as myself, actually, let me go into another browser, another account, because I have multiple Google accounts, and let me do the same thing. But I won't be logged in as the creator of this. So watch this. I'm going to put this in. And it looks pretty much the same. Okay, but if I click present, I can just watch this on my screen. Okay, so if a student wants to come back and review some presentation that you've done, by the way, we haven't actually looked at actually playing the video. Once the video slide comes in, when we've inserted a video, you can play it right here. And that's it. So that's everything that I thought of doing for today. So it's time for questions, and you can turn on your mics and we can go to questions. Or you can type a question in if you'd rather not use your mic. Hello, Dorothy.
Yeah, so Phil, if you want to rearrange your slides, you just move them.
That's right. Actually, I meant to tell you that. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes, if you don't like the order of your slides, over here on the left, you can just move them. And wherever see the line that appears in between the slides, wherever that line is, that's where the slide is going to drop.
Right.
So, and by the way, these little circles that appear on the left are indicating that these slides have a transition applied to them. Okay. Right. So those weren't there before I applied the transition. So that's what those are.
Right. But sometimes using, like, you don't want to use the same transition because it gets boring.
Then you can go to separate ones. You can go to each one.
Each slide as you go?
Yes. So for each slide, it's going to transition from the slide you have selected to the next slide. Okay. So basically, if you want to add a different one each time, then you can just do that by selecting each slide. And then when I go to the transition, rather than apply to all slides, I'll do a fade and we'll do that. Okay. Now there is something to be said for consistency too. Sometimes when there's things flying from all over the place, it can be really distracting to a viewer. So it also depends on your content. You know,
Right.
if I were doing something about, you know, something, a serious terminal disease, I probably wouldn't get real excited about my transitions. I'd probably use something like a fade or something kind of stock. You know, you don't want to have too much fun with a serious topic. So I've seen people do some really out of context things with some of these bells and whistles.
Sometimes when you're new, that's what you do. You get
Exactly.
carried.
Kids are real bad with it. You know, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's a lot of the teachers that come to me are.
I really like that Explore.
I
Um,
love it. I love it.
This PowerPoint doesn't have that.
No,
PowerPoint has a lot of what you showed us, but doesn't have that.
it doesn't have that. In some ways, you know, it has more along the lines of word art and things like that, but
Mhm.
it doesn't. The Explorer is an exclusive to Google, and it's really all based on the Google search. And, you know, that's why they were able to, you know, drop that into the program that way. But when I discovered this layout with Explore, I make every presentation that way now.
Mhm.
It's very simple. I put text, I put an image, and I go to Explore and I pick a layout. And I almost do every
Right.
slide that way,
Right.
unless, of course, the context of the slide doesn't dictate such.
So when you use the Google Photo and you take it from your cell phone, so it's no longer on your cell phone, so it's up in the cloud, right?
That's right. So,
Does it take up a lot of space? Because if you want that,
that's a good question, and I have an answer for it.
good.
When you go to upload, that's why you're here, right?
Right.
When you go to upload images to Google Photos, there's a default setting. And the default setting gives you a pretty good, generous, decently high resolution image size that's useful for most situations. And if you accept that default, it doesn't take up any space at all on your Google Drive.
Mhm.
It's zero space. Now, let's say that you had a photo and your intent was to make like a print of a large poster of some kind with it. Okay. Under that circumstance, you might want to override the defaults and put it up as the original size, which would be a bigger size image. That would cost you.
Mhm.
Okay. But as long as you stick to their defaults in Google Photos, it won't cost you for space.
Can you add audio to your video?
That is the weakest spot of Google Slides. It does not allow you to add voiceover. What I do is if you have a screencasting program of some sort, what you can do is run your Google Slideshow in the screencaster. Do you understand what I mean by screencasting? A thing that'll actually record your screen, and oftentimes it allows you to record voiceover.
Mhm.
So you finish your presentation, then you play it, and you record it. And while you're recording it, you record your voiceover. That will make a movie. Okay. There's actually a plugin called Screencastify that will
Mhm.
do that. I have it up here somewhere. And you know, that does that. I don't like that as much as some of the ones that you can buy because it doesn't really allow you to do editing. My favorite one is Camtasia. I'm not sure what that's called. It's a desktop application for a desktop computer. You can get it Mac or PC, and it's tailor made for doing the exact thing I'm talking about. And I love that. If that's something you need to do often, I would definitely contemplate getting that application. Google trainers get it for free. That's the one and only perk we get. They don't even give us a shirt. You'd think I'd get the good long sleeve shirt with Google written down the sleeve, you know, but no such luck. Okay, any other questions?
So if you're adding a slide with a hierarchy or some kind of diagram, uh, obviously what they have right there does not fit your your information that you want to include. So
Right.
does it continue to add on as you go, or do you
No,
have to
these are
add it
kind of the only way you could add on is to like copy these elements, like
on?
select these elements and copy them and paste them and sort of all these really are is they've taken drawings and they're drawing with lines and boxes. And so you can copy the boxes and the lines and sort of add on to them. The next option would be if you really needed to get intricate with something like this, what you would use is Google Drawings. So if I'm in my Google Drive here,
Mhm.
and if I go down to more, you'll see Google Drawings, but Google Drawings is sort of, nobody really pays enough attention to it. But it gives you the ability to create, lines and boxes and create a diagram of anything you like, and then you can import that right into your slideshow. So if you really needed something more specific, that would be the way I would go.
That seems very time consuming doing that, though.
Yeah, now it is, but it's hard for Google to predict what kind of a diagram you're going to want. So now there are third-party websites that make things like timelines and various different diagrams, where if you had to do something for like a social studies class or something like that, there are other websites. They're not Google websites, but there are some other ones that do that sort of thing.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, any other questions? Faisal, we can't hear you. No. You want to come and talk on my mic? I'm checking the comments. No, I don't see anything. I think we're all good.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I hear you, yeah.
Okay. Lydia, if you don't have any questions, and Dorothy, if you don't have any questions, we will conclude our webinar, and thank you for participating. Check out the links that we left on the chat pod for additional webinars. Register at the link that I provided, and also the presentation that Phil has created for this particular webinar. The link is also in there.
Faisal, what's the next one? It's forms?
The next one will be, and I tell you in 1 second, it's Google Forms.
Okay, cool. And that's a good one.
Yeah. So thank you very much, and you have a nice evening.
Thank you. You too.
Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.